A big open tournament is currently taking place in Reykjavik, Iceland, and the top seed of the tournament is none other than Vassily Ivanchuk. And his opponent was Grandmaster Magesh Chandran. Magesh is a good friend. He lives in the US and he's also a very well known trainer there. He has his academy called Kings and Queens Chess Academy. And every now and then, Magesh decides to play a tournament. And he decided to play the Reykjavik Open. And in the third round, he was paired against Ivanchuk on the top board. And after the game, he made this post, which I wanted to share. And I was going through Facebook and I saw this post made by Magesh says, had a heartbreak today, was completely winning against Ivanchuk and messed up. The worst part is that I saw the winning move and for some reason saw something random in the last second and thought it was an easier win and just played a terrible move. Nevertheless, it was a fun game. We live and we learn. Well, I can only imagine what a heartbreak it must have been for Magesh because, beating Ivanchuk does not happen every now and then. And so it got me very interested to see what the game was like. And when I saw the game, I felt like this was a game that was worth sharing on our channel with all of you. And so let's get to the game and see how Magesh played and how he got a winning position against such a amazing opponent. So Magesh here playing with the white pieces opens with knight f3. Ivanchuk goes knight f6, c4, b6, g3, c5, bishop g2, bishop b7, and he double fianchettos. He puts the bishop on the other side as well. Bishop e7, castles, castles. So you see it's symmetrical in many ways apart from the fact that white has put his bishop here and black has put his bishop this side. d4 very common, takes, and now generally you take with the queen. And this is a well-known opening position, but this is where Magesh plays a slightly different move. He goes knight a3. And I think one of his main ideas was to sort of throw Ivanchuk out from his preparation, play a fresh position. But knight a3, well, the idea is to maybe later on bring your knight to c2, take this, or if the pawn is already taken, then to put it on e3. a6 was played, and now rook c1. And here I was wondering if, the fact that now the a2 pawn is undefended because the rook came here, we can put pressure here. Can black play the move b5? And generally, in these structures, b5 is a break that you want to play. And I think it was a playable move. Maybe Magesh would have gone c5 and the position still remains interesting. d6 was played by Ivanchuk. Now Magesh took the pawn. Knight bd7, rook f d1. Thing to note here is that playing the move d5 is very difficult in such positions. You want to play it in general to open up everything, but because after takes, the knight cannot take. There is a mate on g7. And if you take with the bishop, then generally knight will jump to c4, which is what you want. There will be pressure on these squares, and so it's not so simple to get the d5 break just as yet. So Ivanchuk waited with rook c8. He played this normal move, knight c2, and now a typical plan here, which is rook c7, with the idea of moving the queen here, bringing the other rook in, maybe thinking about these breaks. Knight e3, queen a8. And here Magesh played a very interesting move, which I invite you to think about. What should white play? White to move. He played the move g4. And this is the start of a very unusual attack for someone who has not seen such an attack, because generally when you start a flank attack, like attack on the flank, you want the center to be fixed. Okay, here the center is very fluid. Black can break with d5, can push e5, and that's why g4 feels a bit wrong. But actually, it's a very interesting idea, and black has to play very accurately. In fact, there is an opening which I just want to show you so that you can know when these types of attacks happen. And this played quite a lot. Bishop b2 here, takes, knight c6, knight c3, and now you play knight e1, rook d8, and f4. And even though you will see that the center is not really blocked, g4, this is a very common idea of pushing your pawns forward and then pushing it like this and so on. So g4 was played by Magesh, and I was actually expecting Ivanchuk to play something active like, e5, which is playable, queen d2 and knight c5, and the position remains equal. I would actually think black is doing fine here. Another interesting idea was knight c5, because when you go g5, you will now play e5 move. And the point is that after here, knight e4, knight d5, takes, the position still is quite complicated, and maybe this is how Ivanchuk had to play, had to react for g4. He should have played knight c5 and e5, but he went rook fc8, and this allowed Magesh to go g5. And now it becomes not so simple, because look, if you go e5 now and I go queen h4 and you try to play knight to e4, then without the knight here on c5, I can go maybe knight d5 and takes, rook takes. Now the knight is hanging, and you have to be careful about this, because let's say if now you play knight c5, then already there are some very deadly tactics like rook takes c5. If you take with the knight, there's a dangerous discovered attack from the bishop, and if you were to take with the rook here, then rook d1, and already this becomes very difficult to handle. So there are all these tricks that are happening, and it becomes, in fact, this game is all about very concrete moves at some point. So g5 was played, and he went knight e8. Of course, you have to take care of the mate here. So he went knight e8. Magesh pushed his pawn, b5, and now came the move cb. I was thinking that he could even go queen g4 with the idea of taking here, and you are okay with this isolated pawn because now the battlefield has shifted towards the king side. But okay, he played b5, he took, rook takes, and Magesh decided to keep one pair of rooks on the board, played bishop b2. Here's a small question to you. Why is queen takes a2 a bad move here? Try to calculate. Well, it absolutely doesn't work because of rook a1, queen takes, and knight d2 traps the queen totally, and white wins. So this is not good. He played the move bishop d8, and a very logical move by Ivanchuk. He wants to get his bishop to b6, h5. Magesh is going for the attack, and now bishop b6 played, queen f4. At this point, I think a human being would definitely get a bit alarmed as black. Because look, the engine will cold-bloodedly say black is fine, but this bishop here, there are knights, queens, two pawns. It's already looking very dangerous. And the first move that comes to your mind is queen takes a2. And then you say to yourself, okay, I'm attacking the bishop because now it's undefended. And you see the move g6 and you get a bit worried because now you can't take the bishop. If you take, then f7 is hanging in many ways and this is lost. So you try to block, and once you block, you see that, oh my god, the knight is jumping in, the bishop on b7 is hanging. If I take on g2, all sorts of threats, yeah, g takes h7 is there, he can go queen g4, attack this, and you start getting worried. Like a line could go something knight e6, hg takes, rook hangs, then you take here, and I mean, it's a crazy line, but just to show what could have been possible. But even a move like rook c7 makes a lot of sense here because you are controlling the square f7, and it's again concrete because a move like knight g4 is met with e5, and black is doing completely fine here. In fact, black is better because now can pick up a2. So Ivanchuk realized that taking on a2 is not good because of g6, and so he tried stopping g6 with knight f8. What could be more natural than this? And now Magesh played a very nice move, which is a very natural move. He played his knight to g4. And now the thing is, there are checks like knight h6 check, there is pawn to h6. g6 is controlled by Ivanchuk, but there are these other ideas. And so he played his pawn to e5 and he said, like, look, you have to move and then I'll take on a2. But what is the move that Magesh played here, which I think Ivanchuk had either underestimated or completely missed? White to play. The move that Magesh played here is knight takes e5. Brilliant move, amazing move, excellent move. And now that you don't have a knight here on d7, it's just very bad. He took, queen takes. And now Ivanchuk played his rook to c7. It's very difficult to defend here. Okay, let's look at this variation. Bishop takes g2. Now, of course, the first move is very natural here. You give a check, king here. But what is the next move here? White to play. This is not easy because generally you want to take. And after you take king g8, knight h7, knight h6, g h6. Yes, it looks like very weak, but somehow the king is okay. Here black survives. But the move here, and a very pretty move, and congratulations if you found it, is queen e7. And the f8 knight is undefended. You can't move this knight away. Let's say, for example, you try to move this guy away. Then there is takes, and checkmate. So both knights cannot move easily. Like if this knight moves away somewhere, then knight takes f7, king g8, and knight h6, king here, and queen e6 is just game over. So it gets very difficult to defend after queen e7. So bishop g2, that's why Ivanchuk played rook c7. His main idea was I need to stop queen e7 later on. Okay, Magesh came in and gave a check, and he's very clear. If you take the knight, I will checkmate you in one move. Okay, king h8 was played. And now came, I think, this is the moment actually where Magesh went wrong. And this is where he said he saw the winning idea, but he didn't go for it. So maybe it's a good moment for you to pause this video and see if you can beat Ivanchuk here. White to play. Okay, first feeling, of course, is to check out some sacrifices. Does knight f7 work? Well, not really. Rook f7 doesn't really look great. Does queen g7 work? Maybe, but doesn't look good just giving up the queen like that. Then you realize that I can actually take on b7, and it's a nice piece to take because he can't take with the queen at all. If he takes with the queen, it's you just lose a piece. So it has to take with the rook. And once again, this is the key moment. I believe this is not at all an easy move to make, but you need to find what should white do here. And the more you think about it, the more your attacking skills are going to get honed. What should white do here? The first feeling is queen d5 to attack f7, but then queen a7 holds it all together. The move is that this knight is doing fine. The bishop and queen are doing great. The rook is well placed, but not in the game, in the attack, basically. So you want to bring it in, and the right move is rook d3. And it's a very pretty move. Very pretty move. I mean, maybe many of you might not feel it, but I just sense the harmony. Like the final piece is coming into the attack to attack here, and it's game over. There is very little that you can do. Like imagine this knight cannot move because of g7 hanging. This knight anyway cannot go to many places. This queen cannot move up because e8 hangs. It can go to b8 offering a trade of queens. But then I have this check. You can't take, your queen would hang here. I come back, king h8, and now this very nice little move, queen d5. And also notice how the rook being here helps with the queen g3 check idea, because this pawn is pinned. So even that is stopped. Rook d3 was a brilliant idea, and if you found it, you are a brilliant attacker. You should play tournaments like Reykjavik Open then. But Magesh played queen f5, not a great move, because Ivanchuk said thank you so much for the bishop. Magesh might have wanted first to take here, but then after king g8, check, gh, queen e4, there's no attack. So he took here, knight takes, knight f7, takes. But in the end position, if you see, black has 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces for a rook, which is just too much. And e4 was played to stop queen g2 mate, bishop e4, and all the pieces work perfectly to prevent the mate. And in this way, Ivanchuk won the game. Magesh lost, but what a game this was, and what a fight it was. If you did find this idea with bishop b7, rook b7, rook d3, I think that was amazing. Also, really loved how he attacked a legendary player with g4 and just hurling his pawns down the board. A brilliant game. And right now this tournament is in progress, so do follow it. We will be bringing you reports and videos and so on. There are many Indians playing for now. Abhijit Gupta and Pranav V are both on 3 out of 3. Will be interesting to see. Abhijit has previously won the Reykjavik Open, and there are many other youngsters there, like for example Isha Sharma is playing, Sahiti Varshini is playing. There are also few other players who might be looking for their GM title, like Shyam Nikhil, who has 3 IM norms and is close to 2500, so he might become India's next GM in this event. And this is how the standings are. Ivanchuk at the top with Mustafa Yilmaz, Abhijit, Leon, Levaich, Matthew Cornet, Pranav, Leon Mons, Evgenios, Ionides, Tamash Banush, and many more. So do stay tuned for more coverage. And for now, this is Sagar Shah signing off. Why is my video like this? Yeah, looks good. But that's the end of the video. Bye bye.